Okay, so welcome to the Marathon Nutrition webinar with Coach Seth and Tom Jordan. Tom is one of the leading nutritionists in the area, and he provides consultations to athletes of all levels and can provide valuable feedback on your current and marathon nutrition plan. If you do have a nutrition plan, we do have a lot of folks from that are getting ready for the Chicago and New York City marathons in particular. So nutrition is going to be one of those things that's on the top of most people's minds. With a background in nutrition, fitness, and dietary supplementation, Tom Jordan brings a dynamic, natural approach to attaining optimal health. He is a registered dietitian and is a member of the nutrition department at the Lifetime Fitness in Burr Ridge, Illinois. Tom earned his bachelor's degree in nutrition and dietetics from Dominican University in River Forest, Illinois. He gained his master's degree in clinical nutrition at Northern Illinois University, where he conducted research study investigating the effects of sports supplementation on endurance athletes. An elite health coach, Tom earned his personal training certification from the American Council, on exercise. He's also a member of the American Dietetic Association, the Association of Sports, Cardiovascular, and Wellness Nutritionists. Tom also happens to be a high-level athlete and has personally completed 13 marathons. Tom ran and completed the now infamous Boston Marathon in 2013. And then lastly, before turning it over to Tom and his brother own the fastest growing race timing company in the Midwest called J3 Timing. We've personally used his services for years now and can't recommend them highly enough. So what does all this mean? It means that Tom, who's going to jump on here in just a second, is highly qualified to be talking about nutrition this evening, and we're very lucky to have him with us. So without further ado, Tom, I'm going to turn it over to you, and I'm going to, you can see your presentation, correct?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. Thanks, Tom.
Okay. And then do I just have you click to the next slide?
Yeah, do that. And then why don't we do this? For those of you who are on right now, can you, and just to make sure that your chat boxes are working, can you go ahead and just type in yes and hit enter, so I know that you are, one, hearing me, and two, that is working. Okay, so we're getting some yeses. So great. And then, yeah, just let me know, Tom, and then I'll go ahead and roll through this presentation for you.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you for the introduction. Hopefully I'll be able to step up and deliver. That was quite an introduction there. So, but yeah, I'm very thankful for this opportunity to talk to you guys, and really excited to be working with you on this. I know there's some pretty lofty goals here. The marathon, I think, no matter how many marathons, you know, I had somebody telling me that they were pretty nervous about their marathon, and it was like her second or third, and I said, you know, that doesn't change. Like the marathon is it's such a unique distance, it's such a unique goal. It doesn't matter how fit you are. Like when you step up to the line, like you're gonna be a little bit scared of it, and I think that's what makes it such a wonderful event and such an amazing accomplishment. It is a big deal, and not to scare anybody that hasn't done it. I mean, you know, if you're prepared for it, you definitely will do well. But no matter how prepared you are, there's always a little bit of butterflies as you line up to the line. So the goal today is we're going to try to just make sure that you're as prepared as possible for the event. I want to encourage people to chime in, and if you have comments or questions as we go, make this a little bit more interactive than me just you know, obviously I'm not going to read off the slides, but if you have anything that you want to interject with, please do. But I kind of want to open with thinking about training. Obviously you have to train for the marathon, and this is a triathlon book I was reading. The guy said that nutrition doesn't make you a great athlete. And as a dietitian, I'm like, well, shoot, initially I was kind of offended by that, but as I thought about it, yeah, you absolutely have to train. Like you can't do a marathon without properly training for it. But his point was, bad nutrition can prevent you from getting there. So optimizing your nutrition is going to be key. And if you think about like the aspect of training, when you train, you're actually, like, running doesn't make you faster. Running actually, if you go out for a run, it actually makes you slower because you're breaking down tissue. So when you get done with a run, you're actually slower than when you started. Your tissues are broken down. It's the adaptation to that run. So you impose stress on your body and then you adapt to that run. That's what makes you faster. So it's the 24 to 48 hours after your run that makes you faster. So if you think about that aspect, when you are, it's all about recovery. So that's the key thing I want to hit today is optimizing recovery so that you're getting the maximum benefit out of your runs. So first and foremost, we're starting with carbohydrates. So in the marathon, the one thing that's unique about the marathon is that you're gonna, if you only store so much carbohydrates in your muscle. So you have about an hour and a half. A normal person would have about an hour and a half worth of carbs if they're doing high intensity exercise. They're going to run out of carbs in about 90 minutes, which, and we know what that is, right? We'll test the chat button. When you run out of carbohydrates, it's called, I've lost everybody already. They're all gone.
Yeah, called hitting the wall.
Somebody. Hitting the wall, yes.
There you go.
Yeah, so you're hitting the wall. So the whole idea of if you just drink water and you run hard in less than 2 hours, you're going to run out of muscle glycogen and hit the wall. So the carbohydrates are obviously going to be important. For in general purposes, we're generally looking for complex carbohydrates because it takes a little bit longer to digest. So taking longer to digest a slower carbohydrate like a high fiber breakfast cereal or sweet potatoes or starchy vegetables, things like that are still good sources of carbohydrates, but it's going to take us an hour, 2 hours to break down. So now our muscles get that time to see that, versus sugar is kind of use it or lose it. So we're using it quickly or not losing it, but because we're not going to waste sugar, right? If we don't use it right away, we're going to store it as what? I think they're gone. There we go. All right. Good job. Yeah. So
there we go.
So yeah, and obviously, storing body fat is generally never a good thing. So even a marathon runner. So a lot of times what I'll see with marathon runners is they'll run and run and run and run. So they're way short on carbohydrates, way short on calories. But then what happens is at some point your body says, okay, I need to get fed. And a lot of times they'll break down then, and at that point they're just tearing the doors off the cupboards and just getting to whatever they can, and then they feel bad about it. Whereas because let's say they were binge eating, like the issue was not what you did in the kitchen. The issue was what led up to that. It was the 3 or 4 hours where you were not planning the meals as effectively. So definitely don't skimp on carbohydrates. Make sure you're including carbohydrates frequently throughout the day, and really not going overboard, but making sure that we're getting adequate carbohydrates. I did want to throw in a note on something that's been more interesting to me. There's a product called UCAN, and initially I wasn't too excited about it because it's just carbohydrates. Like that's all it is. And on the label they say call it a super starch, and but ultimately it's just carbohydrates. And I'm kind of like, do we really need? Most people don't need more carbohydrates. But the interesting thing about it is they developed it. I won't get into what it was developed for, but it was for pediatric nutrition, and they realized that athletes can actually use the same thing. It's a very, very slow digesting carbohydrate, and so it helps stabilize blood sugars. So I've been using this with marathon runners and athletes that are doing more high intensity exercise. So about a half an hour before exercise, normally what are we doing? We're going to grab some kind of like high glycemic carb, like a Cliff Bar or a banana, which will raise our blood sugars. And then we start exercising or running, and that makes us sensitive to insulin and will actually drop. So if you've ever felt like your run is going good, and then all of a sudden, like a half an hour in, you just kind of feel sluggish, and you're not really, and then it'll end up rebounding because the adrenal glands will pump out a bunch of cortisol and bring our blood sugars back up. But if you've ever felt like that 30 minute like slump in a run, UCAN is a great way to stabilize blood sugar. So like a scoop of UCAN, 20 grams of carbs, about 30 minutes before a run can help with that. Just kind of a side note there. So protein is never a difficult sell. Like everybody agrees that protein is good for us. We need it. Running is one of the most catabolic things that you can do. So catabolic meaning breakdown. So we really break down a lot of muscle and a lot of tissue when we're running. So it's very, very important that runners are getting adequate protein. The biggest thing, if I had an elevator pitch on protein, is frequency. It's more important that we're getting frequent doses of protein than total amount. And the optimal number, there's a magic number on protein, is going to be 30 grams per meal, or I say like eating event, meal, snack, whatever. We get maximum protein synthesis in response to a meal, or protein building in response to a meal when we get about 30 or more grams. So I would far rather see, and so 10 is obviously a lot better than 0. 20 is significantly better than 10. 30 is better than 20. But at the 30 point, it kind of tails off. So 40 is not really that much better than 30. So I would far rather see somebody get 30 grams of protein, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then like 15 to 20 for a snack. So that's a total of 120 grams per day. I'd rather see that than somebody have a bowl of cereal for breakfast, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for lunch, and then for dinner they're eating a 16-ounce steak. So they're going to say, well, hey, look, I got 210 grams of protein today. That's better than 130, right? And I would say absolutely not, because it's the frequency of protein. We want those muscles, and I'll draw this for people when I'm doing nutrition consults, and I'll say, I'll write down their food and say, okay, you got 5 grams of protein, or you got 40 grams of protein for dinner, or 50 or 60, and then you got like 3 for breakfast, and then you got 10 for lunch. And on the paper, it makes a lot of sense, because they're looking at I'm like, you went 17 hours without your muscles getting to see an adequate source of protein. So yesterday, congratulations for your long run. You knocked out 17 miles. That was awesome. But then you went 17 hours without protein. So it's like your and the analogy I'll use is you have a great blueprint to build an awesome home. You have amazing carpenters there ready to build, but you don't have any wood. So if you don't give your body the nutrients and the substrates that it needs to repair, then we're not going to respond to those workouts. So frequency of protein is the big thing I wanted to hit there. Do you guys, anybody have any questions or notes on protein? I'm sure we can come back to that too. All right. So I also want to hit fat. Think about fat. Ideally. So at a meal, so optimal at a meal is 30 grams. So 30 grams of protein. And as far as like, okay, what is 30 grams? We're looking at about 4 ounces of meat. So a deck of cards, if you're thinking like the size of a deck of cards of a chicken breast, that'd be a very small chicken breast. That's going to be about 28. So a little bit bigger than that. So think about like the size of your fist. If you look at the size of your fist and we're consuming that much protein, that's going to be a very, very solid amount of protein at a meal. That as we transition to fats, fat's a really interesting topic when we look at both health and at endurance performance, because I talked a little bit earlier about glycogen and running out of carbs, and this was a nice thing as I started working with Lifetime. They're really big on this. The first time I did an AMA, they call it an AMA test. We called it, like in college, it was a VO2 max test, where you hook it up and you're analyzing how much oxygen somebody's consuming during a workout. If you've ever seen a VO2 max test, it's analyzing oxygen consumption and carbon dioxide, how much carbon dioxide is being used during workout. And the mask, they have the mask on them to analyze the gas coming in and out. But my test was good because I was a good runner, but I was burning an extraordinary amount of carbohydrates, which is not good for a marathon runner, because as we talked about earlier, like, you only have a limited store. Like, so the goal of a marathon runner is to get more efficient at burning fat. So I had always learned that carbs are good. It's all about carbs. You should be carb loading all the time. So I was eating a tremendous amount of carbohydrates, and what I was training my body to do was burn carbohydrates. So Lifetime had a very good impact on me, as they're big on, like, hey, why don't we, like, 90% of the people that are in the gym, like, whether their goal is endurance, performance, body composition, weight loss, most of them, their goal is to burn fat more effectively. Like, that's what they're trying to do. So from a dietary standpoint, if we go on a low-fat diet, we try to avoid fat, we burn fat less effectively. So we really want to make sure that we're getting adequate fat in the diet. And when it comes to health, also very interesting, fat is probably one of the biggest components that can either hinder your health and have a negative impact on your health, or have a very positive impact. So decreasing inflammation, which is a huge component of most disease processes. Like, if you look at the 10 diseases that kill Americans, cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes, stroke, all of them are inflammatory in nature. So you can significantly increase the amount of inflammation in your body by consuming bad fats, meaning processed fat and junk fats from cakes, cookies, fried food, things like that. On the other side, you can significantly decrease the amount of inflammation in your body by consuming these healthy fats. You guys have heard of healthy fats? I'm gonna ask for a chat entry again. Give me an example of a healthy fat.
Avocados.
Avocados, awesome, perfect. So avocados, olive oil, walnuts, flaxseed is a great option. Chia seeds are getting more popular now, and fish. I mean, fish is going to be the biggest one, and fish is probably one of the best sources. I'm a big proponent of fish oil because it's really high in omega-3s. So it's those omega-3s that we need to decrease inflammation. Whether our goal is to improve our health, decrease the risk for disease, improve our ability to metabolize blood sugar and prevent diabetes, or if we're a runner and we're imposing a ton of inflammation on our body by doing, even the best runners, I mean, it's still very it's very traumatic. Like running is there's a lot of trauma because you're essentially landing, you're leaping from foot to foot, and you're landing on your foot. And rather, when we do upper body work, we do what, 15 reps and then take a break. When you run, you do 6,000 reps. You do 6,000 reps of the same exercise. So anything we can do to decrease inflammation is obviously a huge benefit. We kick to the next slide. All right. Oh, here we go. So perfect. Go back one real quick. So healthy fats. So there's our list of our list of healthy fats, and trying to stay away from now. And I think so. Coconut oil is definitely one that I'm going to move over to the left column. So I think coconut oil is high in saturated fat, but I think it's pretty clear at this point that coconut oil is definitely a good fat. It's a lot easier. The plant-based fats are a lot easier to metabolize than the animal products.
And Rajiv, to answer your question, yes, we'll be sharing this presentation with everybody.
So hydration is very important. Everything in the body happens in an aqueous environment. So you cannot complete a chemical reaction in the body, just like breaking down a sugar molecule or breaking down a fat molecule for energy, if you don't have adequate water. So that's why fluid loss is such a big deal. We try to cool our bodies by putting some fluid on our skin so that it'll dissipate, and with the dissipation of the fluid, we're cooling our body. Like it releases heat. So that's good. But if we do a lot of that, we run out of fluid in our body. And obviously, fluid's good because of that's what our blood uses to transport oxygen and nutrients to your exercising cells. So a small amount of fluid loss, we're looking at 1%, and that's 1% of your body weight. So I encourage people to weigh themselves, like before and after a workout. I'm a very heavy sweater, so for me, if I forget my water bottle and I end up running in the middle of the day on a hot humid day, I've lost 7 to 9 pounds of fluid in a run. I mean, because I sweat a lot. Most people don't sweat quite that much, but it's still possible. So that's that's like a 5%, and at that point, I mean, that's where you start to get a little bit woozy, and you can pretty much tell a pretty significant decrease in performance. But if you're waiting until you get thirsty, a lot of times thirst is a pretty bad indicator. So thirst sometimes cannot kick in until we're already at this 2% mark, and that's just way too late. So and when your body goes into run mode, like you're thinking, I need to get the job done, I need to work, I need to get this done. So some of your senses get blunted a little bit, and especially thirst. So really make sure that you're getting fluids on board. I think I have do I have fluid recommendations on the next slide? Might be a one after this. So there's some signs of dehydration. Yeah, here we go. Yeah. So sign. So here's the recommendation. So if for me, anything, usually if it's going to be more than 40 minutes, I like to go with some kind of like sports drink to make sure that I'm getting some carbohydrates and sodium, because sodium, we typically will stay away from sodium because we retain water. And so if we're retaining water, then that can be putting some pressure on our blood vessels, and it can increase blood pressure. So we're typically taught to stay away from sodium. However, the concept of sodium is water follows sodium. So if you're sedentary and not really doing anything, you don't want a lot of water being retained in your body. We want to be able to get rid of that. But if you're exercising, I mean, to be able to retain fluids is huge. So, like Gatorade has about 100 milligrams of sodium per 8 ounces. Optimal amount is going to be about 200 milligrams. So there's their other formula. I think it's like Gatorade Endurance. The only difference is it has more sodium, but that'd be the optimal concentration of sodium is actually 200 milligrams of sodium per 8 ounces of beverage to help us really hang on to some of that water and not waste it. And the idea of carbohydrates during a workout is if you're burning the carbohydrates from your drink, you're not burning the glycogen from your muscle. So it can spare muscle glycogen, and it can also kind of protect muscle. So for sure, long runs. Now, if you're just going out for an easy 3-mile run or whatever, you don't need to focus that much on carbohydrates. I mean, you're not going to really break down that much muscle anyway. So my rule is, if it's less than 60 minutes, let's just go with plain water. If you're going more than 60 minutes, definitely consider a sports drink. And before the run, always think about how long is it going to, so topping off fluid stores. But you don't want to top off fluid stores 15 minutes before your run, right? Because then when your body says, okay, that was more than I needed, I'm going to have to go to, the kidneys are going to clear that. It's going to go to the bladder. Now, 20 minutes in your run, you're like, oh my gosh, I got to go to the bathroom. So, and that happened to me. Like my first marathon, I was so focused on hydration. I was just slamming water. I was slamming Gatorades before the race. And then I had to dive into a porta-john at mile 2. So I'm like 15 minutes in the race, and I had to leave the course to I could not make it to mile 3. So I learned relatively quickly. So you want to push fluids about 90 minutes before. So try to top off fluid stores about 90 minutes before. You'll probably consume more than you need, but then that makes you to where you're going to the bathroom right before the race, as opposed to some guy diving into a porta-john at mile 2. So during the race, this is a little bit individual. I know I'm sure I have some people here who are going to say 6 ounces every 15 minutes is crazy. There's absolutely no way their stomach could handle that. I would say the amount that I sweat, 12 ounces every 15 minutes, is in no way enough. So you're going to be individual based on how much you sweat and how much your stomach can tolerate. Like I can pretty much do anything and during a workout, and my stomach can deal with it. Other people I know really don't tolerate Gatorade very well. So I'm going to try something else like there's a number of different sports drinks out there now. So, trying something that's maybe like a maltodextrin instead of sugar or whatnot. So, and then after the run, then I would like to have you weigh in before and then weigh in after, and just kind of analyze your weight and see if you're losing a significant amount of weight. That means that you really need to consider consuming more water during the run. You are not losing a pound of body fat in a run. Like a pound of body fat is 3,500 calories. You'd have to run a really, really long way to burn that many calories. Any weight that's lost or gained during a run is going to be is solely hydration. So if you're losing a significant amount, we want at least 16 ounces of water for every pound you lost during the run. And then the other good indicator, the P-test, if the urine is dark, then you're pretty significantly dehydrated. So we'd like to see pale or clear. So now that's kind of like pre and during nutrition. The big picture to really support. I'm sorry, it's a question over there. Weighing in before, I'd try it once, like on a shorter run, but definitely like long run. Yeah, definitely try to weigh in before and after your long run. and just keep an eye on where you're at. I mean, you're probably not going to get super dehydrated if you're running for 40 minutes or 60 minutes. So yeah, definitely. But I try it. Try it once. It's still super simple, super easy to do. But definitely before the long runs. So big picture nutrition. And going back to that concept of when you do a long run on Sunday, you're probably sore Monday, but the adaptations from that run, it's going to take you probably 7 to 10 days you're still going to be adapting to that run 7 to 10 days out. So it's going to be important that we're on a daily basis and every couple hours getting some nutrition to those muscles to optimize recovery. So we definitely want to eat regularly. So every 3 to 4 hours, I'll have people draw just a circle. I'll draw a circle on a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle, say, this is your plate. We're filling half the plate with non-starchy vegetables. So that's where you're going to get all the antioxidant and fiber and nutrients that you need to protect your cells. On the other side, we draw that, cut that in half. So we got a quarter of the plate with some protein. That's that fist of protein. And then a quarter of the plate with some kind of whole grain, high fiber carb. So when I'm looking at food logs and looking at somebody's nutrition, I'll look at the numbers a lot, like what percentage of calories are they getting from carbs and how many grams of protein are they getting after their workout. But I want to look at their lunch and say, okay, what was your veggie? What was your protein? What was your carb? And also lunch and dinner for sure. Breakfast, love to see that at breakfast too. Easiest way to do that is just we take like some stir fry veggies, throw those in the pan, and heat those up. Throw some eggs in there, eggs with stir fry veggies, and then maybe we have a piece of fruits or a piece of toast with that. So the protein is going to be the eggs. The veggies are going to be the stir fry veggies that we tossed in there, and then the carbs are going to be maybe a piece of fruits or or the bread. Back to the UCANs too. I'll do UCAN with that meal too, and then that really is, I mean, keeps you sustained for 4 to 5 hours. Special note there, we want to experiment during training. So like the pre-workout meal. If you read an article and a professional runner suggests the best pre-workout meal that's ever been tried, it's incredible, and you read this article the day before the marathon, don't do it. Like the whatever you have on marathon morning, you've had 4 or 5, 6 times prior. So we're not introducing something new. Just like a pair of shoes, right? Like they'll say, you don't, and I'm guilty of this. I when it gets to recommendations one time, bought the pair of shoes the day before the marathon, ran them in the marathon, and now I agree, you don't do that. So don't try something new on race day. Definitely experiment with anything you do nutrition wise during training. Which is, so here's where we're going with the night before. So I wanted to hit carb loading real quick. We know that the carb loading and then pre-marathon meal. Carb loading is not what you do at the pasta party the night before the race. So carb loading is, they initially found this carb loading concept out. I think it was like the Scandinavians did this in the 70s, where they would go on a really low carb diet for 3 days, and then they would go on a really high carb diet for 3 days prior to the event. And the problem with that is that you feel terrible when you go super low carb, and then you kind of feel bloated when you go super high carb. So now what they figured out was you can go on a modified nutrition plan and still get pretty much the same impact. So I'll slightly reduce carbs for 3 days. So just dropping down to probably like what a normal person not training for a marathon would eat. Let's say that's Tuesday, Wednesday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then I'll usually go do a prep walkthrough on Thursday morning, where I'm going kind of marathon pace for a couple miles and really getting out of there and not doing a killer workout, but going solid for a couple miles. I'll usually do like 6 or 7 on Thursday. And as soon as that race is done, as soon as that workout is done on Thursday, then I'm flipping to the higher carb and going higher carb on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and that's carb loading. So it's going to take about 2 or 3 days for your body to really, and then what happens then is you go to the race and you have a little bit more glycogen. So it's glycogen supercompensation. So you'll start the race with a little bit more glycogen than you would if you had not done that. So also same thing, don't just randomly try this the week of the marathon. Like, try it in training. Like, before your 20 miler, maybe go a little bit lower carbs on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then do a solid run Thursday morning, and then go higher carbs the rest of the day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and see how you do on Sunday. On marathon day, or the morning of, we do want a decent carbohydrate meal, something that works for you. So I can tell you what I eat, not really going to be valid, because it needs to be something that works for your body. If I would really push the fluids a couple hours prior, obviously avoiding alcohol, sugar, sodium, those sort of things before that. So I was hitting all these on the previous slide, but modified carbohydrating, or modified carbohydrate loading, tapering down your run training, and then really pushing the carbs like the last 3 days. And then during the marathon, of course, we're trying this again. We're trying this beforehand on our longer training runs. But I always remember, like, this is back in high school. My cousin said something about Gatorade. He said it's just sugar and water. Like, that's all it is, and it's actually just sugar, water, and salt, which is true. I mean, this amazing beverage that they tout on these commercials as something that all the pro basketball players drink and all that stuff. It's just sugar and salt in water. But then the counter argument would be, what do you sweat? Like, when you sweat, you're losing water and salt, and you're burning sugar. So that's actually, it really is exactly what you need. So something that's simple. We want very complex food when we're nourishing our body, because it takes a long time to digest. It's very nutrient dense. When we're running, we don't want to be digesting food. So we want something that's very easy to digest. And the nice thing about having a solution that's about 7% sugar, which is, we're looking at like 12 to 14 grams of sugar per 8 ounces. So in an 8-ounce beverage, we should have about 12 to 14 grams. Some of them it's like 20 grams of sugar for 8 ounces. That's just way too much. The G2, like the light Gatorade, it's just too little, because that 7% concentration ends up being the same osmolality, or the same concentration as our blood. So it's very easy for that beverage to get across the gut to blood barrier and get absorbed into our system. So it's minimal impact on the digestive tract. Some people don't do well with Gatorade, and I would just try to encourage them to try a different carbohydrate source. So all of them that are out there. There's like the heat and all those things that are out there. Sometimes people just really don't do well with sport drinks at all. That's where the energy gels, I think, would come into play, or even like the like the Cliff, like the shot blocks, or whatever they call them. The nice thing about the beverage is it's in that 7% concentration. An energy gel is essentially the same thing, where it's 20 grams of carbs in a gel, and you're supposed to dilute it with water. If that works better for somebody, that's fine. The other nice thing about an energy gel is I always would, when I'd run in the Forest Reserve, I'd have two 32-ounce Gatorades, and it's hard to carry. It's just, very difficult. So I'd carry them for like 2 miles and set it down, and then set the other one down 2 miles later. And now, of course, we have the nice fuel belts and all that stuff. But the energy gels are really simple for somebody who is going out for 20 miles, and they don't want to carry that water with them. And there's going to be water fountains on the path. So anything too concentrated, like juice or soda, is not a good idea. And we want to try to stay away from fructose, just because fructose is actually it's digested differently than glucose, which is like a simple sugar. So a little bit of fructose is not a bad idea, and that's actually, there's some fructose in Gatorade for that reason, because it's absorbed differently. So you can actually absorb more carbohydrates if you have two different kinds. But I won't really get into that too much. And then this is to me, the most important piece. Like, yes, you need to be fueling on your run to get through the run, because if you don't get through the run, you're not going to be adapting to the run. But for me, nutrition, it's all about recovery. So like the first couple hours after the race, and I put 4 to 6 here, but really, if we look down a little bit lower, like within let's say there's a metabolic window. So within 90 minutes post workout, your muscles are very sensitive to insulin, and think of your muscles as like a sponge. So anything you give yourself is going to be absorbed and utilized very, very well. So right after the workout, I know sometimes people are just will say there's no way. Like, there's just absolutely no way. Like, food is the last thing on my mind. Like, for me, like, I'm thinking food, like, as I'm doing my cool down, I'm thinking, man, what do I get now? But try to do it as soon as you can. Something we're still thinking quick nutrition, because I want to see something that's going to hit the muscle quickly, rather than a nice, like, stick to your ribs steak and potato meal. Like, that's going to take a long time to break down. So here's where we're going quicker. That's where protein shakes are a great option, because it's already liquid, it's already blended up, it's easy to digest. You're getting a high quality protein with either like the whey protein, or like a vegan protein, and some sugar from some fruits. So it's very quick. So make sure that glycogen synthesis. So we're restocking glycogen, and then also a protein shake is liquid, so you're also hydrating. So those are definitely the key things. I definitely want to see that 30 grams of protein post meal. And then if it's a very high intensity workout or a really long duration workout, we're looking at 1 gram of carb per kilogram of body weight. So that's basically, if you take your weight in pounds divided by 2. So a 200-pound person would actually probably want them consuming about 70 to 100 grams of carbs post workout. And that's saying if that's a pretty high intensity workout. Like, don't do a 3-mile run and then down 100 grams of carbs after a 3-mile run, which you see at like the 5Ks, right? Like, they'll go do a 5K and then they're having like 5 pieces of pizza and 2 beers because they
Right.
just ran 3 miles. But yeah, we're talking like super high intensity. meals, we definitely want to make sure we're restocking with with carbohydrates, which is going to stimulate insulin, which is going to stimulate recovery.
So are you recommending bacon after races?
Bacon, the bacon's going to be fat,
Right.
so
Yeah. Right. Right.
pancake. We go pancake.
There you go.
There are 28 vitamins and minerals that we have to have to maintain health and performance. As we just the food supply that we have is just not good. I mean, you think of like the way that agricultural practices are conducted, the amount of pesticides on our foods, the amount of GMOs and genetically modified stuff that's going on. So our food supply is generally not great to begin with. Athletes are going to need more nutrients because their metabolism is way higher. I mean, you're burning 50% more calories in a day than a sedentary person. And a lot of times, if they're trying to lose weight, then they're actually restricting calorie intake. And we have higher iron needs because we're breaking down blood vessels and all that. So, long story short, I definitely recommend a high quality multivitamin. So make sure you're using that as an insurance policy. Absolutely not a substitute for good nutrition. Like getting nutrients from foods, our nutrients are going to come from our non-starchy vegetables. That's the most nutrient-dense foods that we have access to. Protein and healthy fat and high fiber carbs. So a balanced diet is going to give you most of what you need. But even if we're nailing our nutrition, it's still not a bad idea to do a vitamin, a good multivitamin. By that I mean looking at something that I want to see it in a capsule form, so not a tablet, something that's just a tablet that's bound, a capsule that's actually going to break apart. A tablet's going to be bound with some kind of filler to keep it all together, and that definitely decreases absorption. So high quality multivitamin. If we're looking at from a supplement standpoint, multivitamin, fish oil, and good whey protein or vegan protein are three that I generally recommend for just about everybody. Just because a lot of times people will take on a marathon as a weight loss, as a means for weight loss, or they'd like to lose weight as a result of it. Or I don't think that a marathon training program is a great idea if weight loss is the only goal. So if weight loss was the only goal, I would not say, okay, you want to lose weight, sign up for the Chicago Marathon. With weight loss, we want a moderate reduction in calorie intake. A lot of times, if we're specifically focusing on marathon performance, we're not reducing calories. Either way, we definitely want to healthy eating patterns. If weight loss is your goal, I would say focus on just general healthy eating while you're in marathon mode. More than likely, if you're doing that many miles and eating healthy, you're going to normalize your weight or come into a healthy weight. If you're looking to lose a significant amount of weight, I would suggest doing that after marathon training or very early in the process. Like now we're getting kind of close now to where it's sort of getting to be game time a little bit. So probably need to, and if somebody's losing a pound a week, I wouldn't be too worried about it. But if somebody loses 20 pounds or 30 pounds between now and October, that's too much. Like your body goes through too much breakdown for that. So from a weight loss standpoint, first thing I always recommend food log, like logging food, and yeah. So I think I hit that.
Tom, question with this for somebody who does have a goal of weight loss during marathon training, they're signed up, they're in their training. if that is one of the goals, a moderate amount or a realistic amount, then do you recommend them doing the runs in almost like a fasted state, like prior to eating in the morning?
Um,
Or does that even matter?
I'm going to say, I would say no, because the I'm very focused on maintenance of lean body mass. So even if people could care less about their endurance, like I say, what are your goals? They say weight loss, and I'm like, well, don't you want to get stronger? Don't you want to get faster? And they're like, no, I don't care at all. I just want to lose weight. We're still looking at maintaining lean body mass. So giving yourself a little bit of carbohydrates pre-workout, you're actually kind of priming your metabolism. And generally, people will actually burn more fat after, if they're in a fed state, than the fasting cardio. So I think that it's debatable. You could debate that, but I would still get something in. If somebody is doing fasting cardio, and then I would probably do like during a workout, branched chain amino acids, or BCAAs, as a means to really make sure that they're maintaining lean mass. Because exercising in the fasted state is, you may burn a little bit more fat, but you'll absolutely burn more protein. We're definitely going to be breaking down more protein.
Got it.
So just to keep the metabolism going, every 3 to 4 hours. Make sure we're getting some food in every 3 to 4 hours. If that's hard, if I have any nurses on the line, I understand. 100% of nurses, they go hard. They go 9-hour shifts at a time. They barely get a break for a meal. My rule is, if they allow you to go to the bathroom, you can get a meal in. I mean, I remember in our rotations being in the hospital, and I would have a protein bar in my pocket, and it takes far less time to wolf down a protein bar than it does to run to the bathroom. So figure out a way. I know I've worked with a lot of people that are just super, super busy, and I'll do the same thing. Like I'll see 7 clients in a row, and back to back to back, and I can guarantee you I'm eating every 3 hours. I have a protein shake ready to go. I just add water, shake it up, and it takes very, very little time. So make sure that we're getting something in every couple hours. Make sure that you're not shorting yourself, and also think about not like balancing out your meals too. I think way too often with marathoners, we'll eat 1,200 calories during the day and have a great day going, and then just blow it, and the blow it side is not because we don't have willpower. It's because we messed up during the day. So giving yourself enough calories to support your workout is and feel content, and stay happy. So making sure that we're still moving. I think they very interesting. They found that I know as we know, sitting is the new smoking. So being sedentary is actually they're showing is as harmful for your health as smoking. And what's very interesting for me on that is that includes runners. So people who run 20 miles a week or 30 miles a week, but sit in an office all day long, it's still detrimental to their health. So even if we're running that much, just make sure we're moving and not getting stuck at the desk. If you are getting stuck at the desk, just standing up, doing whatever, just very simple arm circles. I'll do just a couple of reverse lunges to stretch out the hip flexors, and just get some movement. And I love the Garmin's. They'll buzz, and you're like, oh, am I getting a text message or what's going on? And you look down and it says move. So that's great. The hard thing about that is you actually do have to move then. But And then and definitely don't underlook don't overlook the benefits of strength training. So want to make sure that we're maintaining muscle and stability by having a good solid strength training program behind what we're doing.
And I think the folks that are on this call who are training for the marathon will note that they have strength training programs built into their daily, weekly, monthly programs. So I couldn't agree more with Tom on that sentiment.
Awesome. How often do you do your plans normally do strength training?
Yeah, well, it depends on the program, because we have programs that are for entry-level marathoners all the way through advanced, but anywhere from 2 to 4 days per week. And it's mainly body weight focused, a lot of stability strengthening, single leg strength, a huge focus on core, hips, glute strengthening.
Awesome. Very cool.
Now,
So,
what race is this, Tom? I've had this picture on file for years. What race is this from?
man, I think that's the Quad Cities. So I'm glad you asked me that, because that was I remember that now, because the Quad Cities race is near and dear to my heart. Like that was the first time I tried to qualify for Boston. I needed a 3:10, and I ran a 3:14. Actually, I needed a 3:10:59.
Right.
So I missed it by like 3 minutes and 14 seconds. And when I went back, then like 2 or 3 years later, I knocked like 4 minutes off my PR, and I think I ran like a 2:52 or something, and that's mile 20. And I was like, I knew I was going to do it at that point. So, and there's still a lot of stuff that can happen after mile 20, but like I remember feeling good and feeling strong, and that's a good moment.
It's a great picture.
I forgot my socks that day, so I had recovery socks on. And like, oh, I'll just wear them. And like ever since that marathon, now I always run with
lucky.
Yeah.
Lucky socks, right?
Yeah.
And for those who are on the webinar, if you jump on kopfrunning.com and you go to the About Us page, you'll see this same picture of Tom on our website.
Cool.
So in closing,
Yeah, I guess the quote there. That's why I love this. That's why I love this race. It's just, it doesn't matter who you are. Like it's gonna take it takes everything you got. And I think, like, for me, like, I don't really I run because it's kind of like proof to myself of what I got. So good nutrition, and it was who's the guy that won all the Bostons? Bill
Rogers.
Bill Rogers. Yeah. I think he said something about anybody who says it's all running a marathon is all in your head. I can't remember the quote, but basically he was saying, if you think running a marathon is all in your head, like, come out and get on the road with me. Like, it doesn't matter what's in your head. Like, you have to have the physical stuff to do it. But I've also seen a lot of people who have the physical stuff to do it, and it's a hard thing. Like, it's going to push your heart and your mind.
It'll change you forever, the finish line. That's for sure. I agree.
Yeah.
So in closing, so Tom, if people have questions after this, and then again, this is going to be made available to everybody that is training with us for the fall marathons. Can they get in contact with you if they have a random question? Where's kind of the best place to find you?
Yeah, for sure. I think the easiest email, it goes directly to me. just Tom at j3timing.com. That bounces right to me.
Great, great.
So if they just want to shoot me an email.
And I'll include that in the summary that I send out to everybody tomorrow, along with the recording. So
Awesome.
So I just want to say a special thanks to Tom for coming on once again. I think this is the third or fourth year in a row that you've done this for us. So greatly appreciated. Your expertise is amazing, and we're lucky to have Tom as a partner. And I'll also take this time to plug our next upcoming webinar on Tuesday, July 11th, same time, 6:30 p.m. We'll be talking running form and technique with Denise Smith of Smith Running Academy in Crystal Lake, Illinois. And that should be another good one. And we'll also be announcing some other webinars coming later in the summer as we work towards the start lines this fall in Chicago and New York and other races. So, Tom, thank you. Thanks to everyone for attending tonight's webinar. We'll get this recording out tomorrow, and best of luck out there on the roads.
Awesome. Thank you.